Yes, people, welcome back to a One True Red podcast special. So this week we are going to have a chat about who has made the best striker signing of the season so far. So obviously Liverpool went big in the summer. Uche, yes, you. Liverpool went big in the summer, but we're not just going to talk about. We're not just going to focus on Liverpool. Arsenal also have been chasing a number 9 for some time. And other teams, Man United included, also made some signings. So we're going to have a chat about who's made the best so far. And we're going to start, Mikey, we're going to start with you and Gyökeres. Because you mentioned in the pod we've just recorded, where we talked over the Liverpool win, the Arsenal win against Brighton. And you mentioned Gyökeres and the fact that he's not quite fitting in. Now he has got, how many goals has he got so far this season?
6, I think.
6 goals. I think I saw 7, so I didn't want to get it wrong.
League goals.
He was signed. It's probably obviously all competitions as well. He was signed for 64 million in the summer. There was talk of you signing Sesko, who went to United instead for 79 million pounds. I mean, it's the best of 2 bad signings, really.
Well, basically, what I will say is that 64 million pounds isn't the amount that we paid. That's a bit inflated. At that point in time, I think that we made the right decision. Between Gyökeres and Sesko, there's only one winner for me. But as you'll recollect, we spoke on the pod back in January, and there was a certain Ollie Watkins that Arsenal were heavily linked with. And we didn't put the money up. And I said, if we were holding out for our striker in the summer, it didn't make sense getting him. And now I've seen this guy. Watkins is much better than him. And so we should have done it in January. And so, yeah, this is my opportunity to tell the world Watkins is better than Gyökeres. Even though I didn't even rate Watkins like that. I think he'd do a better job than Gyökeres for us. But with all the signings that have happened in the summer, none have been that successful for me.
Well, we've got Liverpool Ekitike to talk about, no?
Go on, talk about Ekitike then.
Well, to be fair, I'm not gonna sit here and front and pretend that I was overly excited about the fact that we got Ekitike. I liked what I saw, the little bits of I saw him at his previous club last season. But as I've said many times in this pod, we were hearing quite a lot of things about his stats and the fact that he was missing a lot of he's underperforming and missing a lot of chances. So that was a worry. And I was worried that if he was coming in to be our number 9 as our main striker, then things won't look so good for us this season. So I was more excited about the other guy who's now injured and hasn't played very well this season so far. But back to Ekitike. I'm very impressed with the way he started his Liverpool career. Still has a lot to learn, still a lot of things that he needs to improve on. But in terms of goal scoring, in terms of his presence on the field, in terms of just being the man, I've been very impressed with him, and he's done very well as far as I'm concerned. But Uche, he was another one who maybe wasn't overly enthralled by his signing, but he's turned out to be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, Ekitike is if you were to judge him by where I had him in my head versus what we're seeing so far of the signings made, I think he's going to be number 1. If not one, looking at all the other names that were signed up, I think he's definitely number 1 for me. So that shows, because like we said many times already in the pod, his expected goals, he was performing below. So we were thinking, well, logically, if you come to this league, faster league and all that, would you get a chance to increase it? And he's better in it, almost questioning whether or not was anything to doubt, or has he improved exponentially between the summer and with better teammates and creating chances. I think some of his goals has been very impressive. His header the other day was extremely impressive to rise up and sort of rise into it. It's not something I expected Ekitike to do. So I would say he's been very, very impressive. Still lots to improve on as a young player, but that's fine. But at the end of the day, he's putting the ball in the back of the net, which is his first job. And then all those things that he needs to improve on, he can focus on later on. But in terms of value for money and bringing it and going straight into it, especially when normally with a new player from a new league, you're expecting some growing pains. But he just, caught fire straight away. So very impressed.
Very impressive indeed. So the fee that we're going with for this pod is 79 million for Ekitike, 64 million for Gyökeres. Both to you, Uche and Mikey. The question I have, actually, no, Mikey. Let's actually get your thoughts as an Arsenal fan looking at Ekitike. Did you not actually thinking about it? Why was he not one of the choices that Arsenal were looking at? Because you linked to Sesko, Gyökeres, and probably the only two. Why was Ekitike never really on the radar?
Probably because of the reasons that you'd highlighted about him underperforming his XG. I think that when we were looking at strikers in the summer, Ekitike and Sesko's profiles were pretty similar from the Bundesliga in terms of their outputs, age, types of things, and that they were both talked up as big prospects. Whereas Gyökeres was that few years older, had scored more goals, got more under his belt, and if he could translate it, then he would be the guy. I think a lot of people know that the statisticians was telling Arteta that Sesko was the one that we have to sign for the future. I've seen enough to say that they are wrong. Ekitike has outperformed all of our expectations, and I'll just rein back on what I said earlier because, I agree, Ekitike, out of all of the strikers that were signed, has overperformed in terms of where most people thought he would be at. It's just that I want, from an Arsenal's perspective, I'm looking at an Henry, a Van Persie, an Adebayor who's going to get 25 goals. Ekitike might get there, but I doubt it this season. But I think he'll go on. I think out of all of the strikers, he's got the most growth in him if Liverpool allow him to be the number one striker.
Yeah, well, I think for this season at least, he's going to be the number one striker because the other guy, who we haven't spoken about yet, isn't likely to be properly fit for the rest of the season. Now, Slot said he's out. Isak, that is, he's out for 2 months. He's probably going to need another month of getting back to fitness. By then, we're looking at March. Season ends in May. So, yeah, I'm not sure that Isak's ever going to be the number one this season. But a question I've got for you all, actually, and Aki, you can take this one if you want to, but I'd like the views of both Mikey and Uche, is do we think that what we've seen for Ekitike so far is sustainable? Do we think that this is, Mikey used the word overperforming for what we expected, and that's because we didn't expect him to be this prolific. But do we think that this is his level now, or is he overperforming?
So my opinion is, I think because we've got Ekitike and Isak, it's given Ekitike the impetus to kind of play this well because he's under pressure and he's got something to prove. He knows he's not the number 9. He's not our first choice number 9. That would be Isak, and so he's kind of it's helping him to perform. And I don't think anyone can say that right now he's proving much more of a success than Isak, but he surprised me, to be honest with you. And I think what surprised me the most is his work rate. He's pressing, he's chasing, and he looks hungry, really. So yeah, he looks a real deal.
Yeah, for sure, definitely does. Uche, do you agree in terms of?
I think the problem he's always going to have going forward is going to be like he said, he's just having this dude who's going to always be there. Probably going to be there for at least 2 seasons at the very least. So even when you're playing well, you still have this person who, when he's fully fit, can't be left on the bench for the entire game. If he's fully fit and ready, no matter what you do, he's going to come on in some aspect either next to you or you do 60 or 65 and he does the second bit or whatever the case may be. You're going to get rotated if it's Champions League. So that's the only question. But if he was the main man, I don't think we'll have any question. I mean, I've literally looked up what he's done to date, and it's truly is exceptional stuff. 8 goals in 8 Premier League goals in 12 starts. It's as good as it gets at this level. You can't really do much better than that in terms of starting off. That is really high level stuff. So if you were to compare him to, if you were to give him the Haaland title of, okay, you are our number 9, there's no question you are out and out and we've got nobody else but you, I think you can continue it. The problem is that's not going to happen because obviously Haaland, Isak is not going away. Like I said, at least 2 seasons until we either abandon the project or get rid of him. So I think that's going to be a difficult one for him going forward because his minutes is always going to be managed. But I think Haaland likes the fact that he knows is the main man come what may. If Ekitike was to get that sort of, accolade, especially after this season, I think you might be seeing Isak sent packing very soon.
And just to pick up on that point, so let's assume that Slot is going to remain the Liverpool manager. Unlucky Aki. Last season we were rotating between Diaz, Nunes, and Jota. I see it, and I've said this on previous pods, I see it as the fact that we will probably play 50 games plus per season. I see them being able to share that role. Whether or not that's going to work out in practice, I don't know. But in terms of what we know of Slot, and if he's still going to be the manager, last season Diaz played number 9, Jota played number 9, Nunes played number 9, and they mixed the match depending on opposition, who was fit, and the number of games they're playing, etc., etc. I don't see us as a team with Slot in charge where we're going to have just one main striker and that's the only person that plays in that position. It will be somebody coming in and coming out. How that will impact both Isak and Ekitike going forward, I personally don't know. But Mikey, in terms of what he's doing currently, do you see that this is his level now and it's just going to just go on from here, or are you on in the same boat as Uche saying that Isak might impact on that and impede on that progression?
So I don't actually think that Isak should come anywhere near your team. I think Ekitike shows a level of confidence that he thinks he's the man. So if you actually empower him with that, I think this is sustainable long term. He's young. I don't see a reason why his form would drop off, put it that way, because his movement's good, he's got good feet, and he wants goals. And he links up play. So he's like the ideal striker. I'm not seeing Isak doing anything better than him if Isak plays. You might say Isak's finishing might be a little bit more kind of forceful and clinical, but you're not seeing that anyway. So I would pin my hopes on Ekitike and let Isak play a backup role. But the transfer fee causes a problem.
I think you can play both, though. I think you can play both.
The problem when you play both, Aki, is that one needs to be a backup, and it's generally Ekitike.
I don't know. I think you get injuries every season, as Arsenal would know. They get injuries every season, but I think you need some versatility, and I think Ekitike is a lot more versatile than Isak. I think Isak is only going to be a number 9, but I can see us playing in a 4-2-4 type system where Verts is playing on the left, coming in. You've got Ekitike, Isak up front, and then Salah on the right. I think that can happen quite easily. I definitely can see Ekitike and Isak playing together. I don't think they're incompatible.
Unfortunately, I don't see that way. I don't think that was ever the intention for it to be that way anyway. I think the intention has to be one out and out number 9. And yes, they can play together. But like I said, again, we need to stop fearing this thing because Haaland has been in this league for his 4th season, I think, if he finishes this one. And he's been in number 9. And, the bottom line is, I've said it many times, if you want to win the league, if you have one of the best players in your position, you want him to play every game. And there's different ways to do it. We've did it differently. Doesn't mean we should do it. We shouldn't be scared to go back to doing it this way. For me, by the time he's from his injury, like I said, the writing is on the wall. What they need to decide is, are you going to write off that money? That's why it becomes an issue, like Mikey's saying. But if you're looking at it from a logical point of view, there is no need to put Isak next to Ekitike. Ekitike is the main person. He's the number 9. And quite frankly, Isak, you're going to have to go and kick rocks somewhere else or play on the left or whatever the heck nonsense you're going to do. Quite frankly, I'm not really interested in what Isak has to do because there is nothing. He has nothing to offer. So could get lost as far as I'm concerned, and then we just move on. That's how I see it. So I don't think it's something that I will hesitate anymore. I'm kind of fed up with this conversation already because we're back here discussing this person again who continues to offer nothing, and then we're talking about, oh, he can play together. Why are you playing them together? Look what Aki just described. He just described a FIFA type settings of I'll play two up front, I'll play Salah on the right one side, I'll play Vitz on the other. So we now got two players. Aki, have you ever seen the Premier League this season? Out of what midfield is it? What kind of midfield are you hoping is going to hold four players up front, just go around trying to bang all the goals? I mean, these are FIFA settings, Aki. What are you talking
No, I'm saying in some games you can do that. Obviously, you're not going to do that against Man City or against Arsenal, but I think Ekitike. I guess if there's one battle he's going to lose, is that he's versatile and Isak isn't. So he can fit in Ekitike on the left, or he can try to fit him in somewhere. I think Isak is a better striker, in my opinion. He's a better finisher. He'll need less chances to score a goal. He's more composed, and you could see he was kind of getting into his role against Spurs as an example. That was a great finish, right? And he's kind of showing glimpses of it. Now, to write him off, I think is silly, to be honest with you. He's had a bad season for a number of reasons. You'd hope next season, with a full pre-season under his belt, you'll see the real deal.
You're saying writing him off is silly. What am I writing him off for exactly of? What exactly is it that you think I'm writing him off on? Can you specify? What do you mean by that statement, writing him off?
Well, your comments. You said you're sick and tired of talking to him, and
because I don't know why we're talking about a player that's not available for selection. See, remember the problem. I've been quite consistent on this, and that's why it bores me, to be quite frank. Right. So I'll repeat it again for the viewers. Right. My biggest problem with Isak was always the same question. It comes back to me all the time. Can you play Champions League, Premier League, Champions League? Because that's what's required at this level, at this football club. Whether you're so when we pay this amount of money, I'm comparing you to them, but I have to compare you. There's no way I will never compare you to Ekitike. So exactly what Aki said is spot on. Isak is way ahead of Ekitike in terms of talent level. Yeah. So we put him where he deserves, right at the top. So if you're right at the top, I'm going to compare you to people right at the top, right? That's Mbappe, that's Haaland, those type of levels, yeah? And I'm going to say they can play Champions League, Premier League, Bundesliga, or whatever league they're in, and then back again and be available for selection. Kane is up there for Bayern Munich. That's the level that we're judging you on. We should never compromise on that. So I want to be very, very clear. So to me, I've always found that comparison to be nonsensical, because Isak will never give you that. You're just dreaming. And any of you who are dreaming should wake up from your bad dream and deal with reality. He was never going to do that for you. You're just dreaming. I told you this before, and I was proven right. And it's very easy to predict. It's very, very easy.
Uche, whilst I understand the logic of what you're saying, I don't agree that he was bought to do what you're describing. I don't agree he was bought to play League, Champions League, League, Champions League, League. I don't believe that, because that's not how we played under this manager.
Okay, then in that case,
the starting centre forward. I mean, we can talk theoretically, and Aki's talking about, well, I think they can play together. And it's theoretical. I'm just talking about who's the guy who's in charge of making the decisions. The one who's in charge of making decisions has not shown that he's going to stick with one number 9 playing 3 games in a week. He's not shown that. And on top of the fact he's not shown that, and I don't believe Isak was bought to do that, neither can the other guy. The other guy can't do it either, because we've just seen a game against the bottom team in the league where Ekitike was gassed out at 65, 70 minutes. He can't finish 90 minutes. The manager said he can't finish 90 minutes, which is a worry, but that's a side issue. So I don't believe we can judge Isak on, whilst I agree with what you're saying, he's been a flop. He hasn't contributed much, and now he's injured. So why are we talking about him? We're going to move on in a sec. But I don't believe he was bought to do what you're expecting him to be doing, and the manager is never going to do that anyway. It's just not. Slot was never going to do that.
Okay, let's say you're right. I don't agree, but let's say you're right.
I am right.
Then there's no point paying that money for a striker if you're gonna get. Don't give me that strike. Don't buy him. It's a pointless.
Yep.
You're treating Isak. You want me to believe that Isak is not what he was advertised. That's what you want me to believe now, because you're saying to me, well, blah 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 blah. But Isak factually was leading the line for Newcastle week in, week out. So why is it beyond possibility that this player, who you're telling all the world before a ball was kicked, was leading the charts, was second top or third or second top goal scorer in the last 2 seasons behind the likes of Salah and Haaland, is now going to come to Liverpool and all of a sudden has to be sharing responsibilities? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that?
I can answer you. The reason is 2 things. One is he was playing for Newcastle and they didn't have any choice. They had to play him because he's clearly their best player. Second thing is that at Liverpool, a bigger club, the way this manager works is 2 players for each position. That's how he operated last season, not so much this season. We signed other players this summer, by the way, who they did one thing at their old clubs and they're doing something else. Now they're playing for us. So it comes back to Slot was never going to sign Isak and play him Champions League, Champions League, 3 games. It's never going to happen. It's just
26 years of age of his career. He's trying to be the best player in the world, or he has to be trying to buy. You got to stop this stuff. What you're saying is literally not making any sense. I'll repeat again. It's like buying Kane, yeah? It's like buying Mbappe. It's like buying Haaland. You don't buy those players, right? And then be telling me what you're saying. It doesn't make any sense. If either you're telling me Isak can never reach that level, which would be ridiculous, because why would you do that?
130 million.
Yeah, why would you do that? Why would you break the British transfer record?
Because the money was there.
Huh?
Because the money was there, Uche. We've just come off a pod where you said the
why
money's
would you do
available.
that? Why would you do that to be going in? Why would you do that to be going in and out? Oh, you're not gonna be that guy, or we're not quite sure. But we literally see in Europe.
No. Wait. I'm not saying there's any doubt. Obviously, the performances this season has thrown that doubt in. I'm not saying that there's any doubt that you're the guy, because clearly, as soon as he was vaguely fit, the manager put him in.
Okay, then
he was playing well.
Okay,
that's
then.
Not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that if you're gonna say it, let's hypothesize and suggest that Isak was fit at the start of the season and he was on some kind of form that was similar to last season, he still would have dropped out for games. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's fine. I don't mind that. I can tell you that Nicholas Jackson debutizes for Kane right now. I can tell you that sometimes Mbappe might have to sit down. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about February, March, April. We talked about this earlier, right? Mikey doesn't think we're going to do it. So let's say in Champions League, it's the last 16 of the Champions League, right?
What's going on?
No, wait on. It's last 16 or it's the quarterfinal of the Champions League, yeah? Isak is going to start, correct? We're chasing the league as well, yeah? So on the Wednesday, we got Isak in the last 16 of the Champions League. He's going to start. You're not going to now swap him because we're now chasing the league also. You're not going to take... Why would you do that? Like, that is like Haaland level. You play both teams.
But you say that, Uche, but you know what happened to us when we played PSG that week. We had Southampton in the league.
I'm talking about the caliber
we had Southampton in the league. We had PSG in the midweek, and we had to play all the players. I can't remember who we played the weekend before, and we played the same team, mostly the same team in those 3 games. And that's part of the reason why we couldn't get the job done against PSG. So I can sit here and say an Ekitike will come in for Southampton.
No.
We were chasing the league at that time as well.
No.
Don't say no,
both of you calm down. I need to comment, please. So basically, I'm in the corner of Salah played nearly every game.
That's what I was going to go to.
He spent £130 million on a player like Isak. He's going to play every game if he's fit. Wirtz will play every game if he's fit. Like, they might have the odd one rotated out, but it's the odd one where they're resting. But we've seen it so far. If Wirtz was playing to the level he was playing at for Leverkusen, he wouldn't have missed a minute. It's just simple. Last season, Salah played every game.
Simple.
Your top guy played every game.
Mm-hmm.
Szoboszlai this season, if he's not injured, he's playing every game.
Every game.
There are players that if they're at their optimal level, they play every game. It's simple. Saka for Arsenal, he's playing every game if he's fit. It's the way it is.
Yeah, he's just confessing. Well, for me, what Rel is doing is confessing what I said earlier. He's not that guy. Like, I keep going back to it. And now we've come full circle and we're back to it, which is actually confession. He was never that guy. Because now we're talking about swapping him.
I think we're talking different things, but let's not focus the whole thing on Isak, because as you say, he's not available. We can go back to Gyökeres and Arsenal. We can do that. So Mikey, you missed out on Ekitike for some reason. Sesko and Gyökeres were the two guys that you guys were linked with. Sesko, I think it's fair to say, has been a complete and utter flop at Man United. Do you think that was a bullet dodged?
It's definitely a bullet dodged. He's gonna have a big contract. They wanted even more money than they got for him. So United have managed to save some money because that was a daylight robbery for that player. Yeah, there's nothing that I can see in Sesko's game that would make me want him at Arsenal. Gyökeres, he can do a bit. He can be a backup. But the fortunate thing is, we've got two strikers already on the books. And if they're fit, they'll be ahead of Gyökeres. So Gyökeres is effectively third choice behind Havertz and Jesus. And they all give different playing styles. So I'm happy having different playing styles with our strikers. And Marino's another backup that provides an option there. Even though I'm not happy with that option. So I'm happy with Havertz being first choice, Jesus second choice, Gyökeres, and then Marino if he has to.
Similar along the lines of rather than what you prefer, but also what your manager actually do you think that Arteta shares that? Because I don't think he's ever, and I could be wrong, just as outside perception, I don't think he's ever wanted to have Havertz as your number 9.
Oh no. Havertz, when he's fit, he plays. It's as simple as that. And he plays as the 9. Even when Jesus was about, Havertz was the number 1 until he was injured. Havertz will be the number 1. And I'm happy with that. I've always been happy with Havertz.
Sorry, Mikey, maybe I didn't phrase the question right. Do you think he signed Gyökeres to become the number 1 instead of Havertz?
We needed, potentially he could have been, but I think that we all sat here and Uche specifically said Havertz won't be out of the team this season. And if he hadn't been injured, I don't think he would have been out of the team. And so if you look at the team and how it functions, Havertz is the guy that we need there. It's as simple as that.
As you say, Mikey, as well. The thing is, that's where what Rel was trying to say about Liverpool comes in, where you have two players who, I think Gyökeres was always going to be that player who has a movement, could run around and beat sort of almost from a mid-table downwards kind of players. And Kai Havertz will always be ready for the bigger games. And that's fine because these two players as a profile are not trying to compete to be the best of the best in Europe. I just don't agree with your assessment when it comes to Isak because I think he is supposed to be one of the best in Europe. That's how I see it. And I will hold it to out. You wouldn't spend that money if you didn't think that's what your aim in life is to be the best of the best in Europe. I think Kai would always going to start a lot of games, even if you have to put him as a support striker sometimes or, put him in midfield or whatever you need to do because Kai offers so much and is such an intelligent player. You can move him around a little bit. No different to even, I hate to say because Mikey hates it, Marino is doing at the moment for the club. Kai Havertz can do a lot of jobs, but also play up front if required. So I think that's why Gyökeres had to be bought and he's doing an okay job for what he's being brought on to do. But I think you're going to see a different Arsenal when Kai Havertz is fully fit and ready to play for this football club. But, back to the best striker, who made the best striker choice, I think it's us, but we made a massive faux pas because I think even in slots wildest dream, I don't think he expected it to be that Ekitike is practically benching Isak. And then if you look at the other signings that we didn't talk about, I think Chelsea, for me, Delap and Joao Pedro, I was never feeling them as being top of the range, but I suppose they would do an okay job. Sesko is rubbish. And I think if you're talking about value for money, we have to mention DCL, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, brought into the table, because obviously I think he's got the same amount of goals as Ekitike, actually, which is incredible. And this is a guy that was written off as having a lot of injury problems, but he's back in form.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right to mention those players. Also, honorary mention for Woltemade, who came in with a lot of pressure at Newcastle to replace Isak, and he's had a good start as well. So he's scored quite a few goals. There's a few other mentions though.
He seems okay to me though. Just
Say
okay.
that again, Mikey?
He seems okay to me. I've watched Newcastle a bit, and yeah, he's tall and he can header, but there's not much more around it. I'm not buying it yet.
Do you know what the problem with them is? I think, to be fair to them, I mean, I don't know what their massive plan were, but it looks like Visa would have done a splendid job, and obviously he hasn't been available. So it'll be interesting in the next coming weeks to see how Visa plays next to him, because Visa with Mbeumo similarly can really benefit from. People have been sleeping on Visa, man. I'm pretty sure, wasn't he second or third top goal scorer in the league last season?
Yeah, he was.
So I mean, for someone who didn't take any penalties as well for his club, that is incredible. So I think that people will sleep on consistently. He scores a lot of Premier League goals.
Yeah, Visa will help them, but the thing about Woltemade is, I've seen some stats over the last 4 or 5 Newcastle games, and they've thrown in around 40 crosses per game.
Yeah,
and if he's not getting on the end of them, I want to know why. Because he's the biggest guy in the box.
So why did you put him into your fantasy football team then, Mikey?
It was a free hit. It was a free hit. You should know how things don't work out.
I'll take him out, to be fair.
But the funny thing about Woltemade is, one of the things I heard is that he's actually not very good in the air, Mikey. So that's probably
why. That's what I was gonna say.
I don't know. He scored a good goal in the air against us.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, against Gabriel.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's more of a 10 than a 9, I think.
Did against Sunderland, as the Sunderland fans would say. Guys, what else was I going to say? Woltemade, Vissa. So just in terms of looking ahead now, obviously we've made our summer signings. It's probably going to stick like this for the rest of the season, for at least Arsenal and Liverpool anyway. But looking ahead in the summer, do you think that the likes of Chelsea, Uche, you mentioned Delap and Pedro, not really being much of an upgrade on Jackson, Mikey, Gyökeres, fourth choice, do you think that we're looking at your teams those teams are looking at going back into the market for another striker?
Personally, I don't think that we have a need to go into the market for another striker as long as everybody's fit, because of the options that I've spoken about. Havertz and Jesus, I think just those two being fit give us options around. And Gyökeres just gives something against the lower level teams. There's not a need to, as long as everybody's fit.
I mean, it's just funny.
Fitness has been a big thing though, because Jesus has been probably out for a year in the last 2 years. Havertz may be touching a year as well with the 2 or 3 injuries that he's had now. So that's been the operative word, because if they're not fit, then I reckon we would go again.
And a team that loves to go again is Chelsea. So I suspect they'll be looking for someone else again in multiple.
They can't help themselves, can they?
They really can't. The fact that they inquired about Semenyo it's literally laughable. It's literally laughable after they signed Gittins and the Brazilian guy and whoever else. And
Garnacho, don't forget Garnacho.
Garnacho. And they're looking to they're inquiring about Semenyo. It's just, at some point you can't just continue to just keep buying players. If you
they can.
Well, wait, Mikey. What I was going to say is, Arsenal's a good, and Salah called it out early in the season. Arsenal's a good case study where you keep a core set of players together, and they grow as a team and they know what they're doing. Arsenal look like a very well-oiled machine. How can Chelsea ever get to that if they're chopping and changing players, not only from match to match, but from season to season? It's like this lot hasn't quite worked, or even if they've done okay, we're gonna get rid of those, and then we're gonna bring in another batch in. How are you ever going to grow as a squad? You can't, as far as I'm concerned.
It's very strange because they gave it that long contract to Nicholas Jackson, and within less than 18 months of him signing that new deal, he's now been loaned out to Bayern Munich, and then they try and call it back when an injury happened. So yeah, it's very strange the way Chelsea go about their business, but that's their business. I think they're struggling to make headway to try and challenge for this title, because this title is very, very difficult, and until Pep calls it a day, it's going to continue to be very difficult. One day, though, Pep will leave, and as long as Arteta and whoever is ready to take over the mantle, that's a great chance to start winning league titles. As soon as Pep goes, no matter who they bring in, it's time for people to start fighting it out. But at the moment, Pep is not looking like he wants
End
to.
of the season, they say.
Well, he needs to hurry up and get on with it. Well, I was going to say that hurry up, but now I'm not too sure. It might open up the door for Arteta, so maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. But okay, guys. So I think we've decided, or have we? Shout if you disagree, but I think we decided that in terms of who's had the best striker choice signing so far this season, Liverpool have managed to do that, as well as having one of the biggest flops as well.
Yeah, I would say with that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
you're calling him a flop now. You're allowed to do that, are you? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. It took a while. I mean, we can go back to so many.
Literally, stop. Leave Isak alone. Stop.
No, I'm just saying that we go through so many pods. I got attacked. I've got something. I'm a hater. And then all of a sudden, it came out of your mouth as a flop. Interesting. I just think it's interesting.
Okay. Well, on that note, guys, we'll stay interesting because we're going to be back live on Sunday. We'll probably have another One True Red special during next week. But yeah, we'll see you on the other side. Peace and we're out.